I'm having a panic attack. My kids are sleeping and I'm in the bathroom having a panic attack because this isn't working and I'm in such deep debt. Suck it up, take a breath. And I literally was having a panic attack in that hotel room because I was like, this isn't working.
You've built a multi-million-dollar business as a single mom, and you started from zero.
I have to get online, and I don't know anything about online. I'm so not techie. Yeah. So I thought, you know what? If not now, when? Now that was the mindset shift. My girls are going to see me that I am actually failing. So when you're a mom and then you go through divorce and then you just end up failing and you just get washed up. That's kind of, I thought, no, that's not the story I want them to see. 18 sales calls. On the 18th, I got my first client and I proved the concept and we danced around the house and cried. And that was the moment where I thought, I have this and this is going to help a lot of people. When I think back, that was a really hard time. I want them to see, Mom went through some hard times. We're on our own. Oh my goodness. She turned this around and she's a huge success, which is their model. We have a mindset that there's a shortage of the green stuff or wherever it is. You know, when you open up your mind and realize there's so much money out there, unlimited, and you just got to call it in and not grasp it. And they're always tweaking their offers and changing their products. But what they need to fix is they need to fix
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I am with Jeanne Omlor. Hope I got your last name right, but
close enough. Omlor.
Good to see you again. We got to know each other years ago, kind of pre-pandemic. We were both in the same business, I guess, marketing program we were in.
Yes.
That's where we crossed paths. So my question to you to get us started, because you've really done such an amazing job. You've been such a great success. And a very different place than when you and I first met, at least from a business perspective.
Yes.
And so I wanted to ask, Jeanne, what's the number one reason you think small business owners struggle to grow their business?
Okay. The number one, there's, I think a lot about this. Like, what are the three things or one thing? It really is hoping. They come in and they go, okay, it's the whole, I'm going to hang a shingle and people are just going to flock to my door. I think that is the number one problem in their thinking. And I've been because I've been coaching for 13 years now, and I've seen this with all sorts of businesses, offline, online, big business, small business, everything. And I think that it's this idea, and I believe that getting rid of ideas is actually what makes people successful sometimes, by just deleting ideas that are like, living in falsehood. Because if you have an idea, there's not a right idea, and you're living by that. You're living in darkness. Okay, so I believe the biggest problem is, I got a certification as a coach, let's just say, or I got finished college to do this. And now, I have a shingle and I'm going to hang that shingle up, figuratively, right? And everybody's just going to flock to me. And the way I explain this problem and the way that people really get the aha moment is this. You could have the best pies I love pies, quite frankly. So let's say you have the best homemade pies in the whole world. They're amazing. Okay. And then you have your pie shop at the end of a dark alley with rats and darkness. And so you have this pie shop. You go inside, it's heaven, wonderful pie shops, but you're wondering why you're not selling. And it must be how bad the pies are. No, the pies are wonderful. The problem is nobody knows who you are because you're in the back of a dark alley and you're not positioned yourself. You have not marketed properly. Okay. So the problem that people struggle with is the self-worth that has nothing to do, and they're always tweaking their offers and changing their products. Well, what they need to fix is they need to fix their lead generation. And that is for all sorts of, that's products, that's services, that's everything. That's all business. When you fix your lead generation and your flow of customers, clients, buyers, whatever, it wouldn't even matter if they were the best pies in the whole world, because what we do know is that if you have pies that are okay and you market them well, you're going to do way better than the person that has the best pies in the whole world in the end of the dark alley. That is the sad but true fact. So I think that is one of the problems is people are not understanding that doing well in business is not about always, I'm so good, or this is so good, or it must be the offer. It's that they have the mindset of a marketer and they hate the word marketing like I did. I think that's the number one problem.
Well, Jeanne, I remember when I started my business, and I think I'm like many people, I want to start my own business. I want to be my own boss. I want that freedom. And nobody told me that meant I was becoming a salesperson, which I didn't want to be. I just wanted to go and serve the client or serve the customer. But of course, that's a big challenge. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, though, is because you've built a multi-million-dollar business as a single mom, and you started from zero. Right? It's not like you had this helping hand and somebody to just give you this big bunch of cash. When you and I first crossed paths, it was a major struggle for you. And so can we go back in time and just what's the story of how you got to be where you are now?
Okay, first of all, I can't tell you how much I love that you're interviewing me, because when I talk about this normally, it's just a story. But and I'm getting goosebumps right now. I kind of want to cry, because to have somebody that witnessed that, and you even said some things, I thought, oh, you could see that. To have you to come back and be interviewed by somebody that was there witnessing it is extremely powerful for me. And I think it adds to the story. So let's go back to when we met, okay? I'd already been coaching 8 years, but it was offline. And that I'm really good at networking. I was teaching people how to market. But for me, that is just an unsustainable mouse on a wheel. I'm a single mom, putting makeup on, running out, wiping avocado off my shirt, getting a babysitter, a hustle, especially when I was in New York City. Then I had to move to another city where they weren't buying like they bought in New York City, and it wasn't working. I was like, I'm not getting clients because there is no market here, okay? And I thought, this is not that I always knew it wasn't that I was a bad coach. There's no market. There is no market because they just don't care enough to get clients where I was, So I'd already been coaching 8 years, and I thought and then we had to move to another city and terrible divorce. I won't go into it, but awful. Deep debt. No assets. I mean, really deep debt. When people go, I have no money. They sometimes do have money. Like they have a 401k, or I'm saying nothing. I'm saying no assets, no nothing, and debt. That's all. 54 years old. Bit of a worry, right? Woke up one morning and I thought, okay, this is not good. Living off credit. My kids didn't know. I want to burden them with that because we lived okay. Credit. I woke up and I thought, what am I doing? I have to figure this out. I have to get online, and I don't know anything about online. I'm so not techie. So I thought, you know what? If not now, when? Now that was the mindset shift. If not now, when? And I actually asked myself that question, and a voice said that in my head, and I thought, oh my goodness, that's the key. When? When am I going to do this if I don't just climb that really hard mountain to climb? And usually when you want to do something new, you have to just brace yourself. There is going to be a mountain to climb, and it is going to be a challenge. And those challenges develop you. Even like, the ice baths people do, that develops you because it's your brain saying this is really hard. That's why it works, actually. I was talking to somebody, he goes, because it is making you do something really hard, like an ice bath, and it develops you. People don't do that because they like it. They do it because it's hard, and it changes your brain. So I wasn't thinking all that. I just knew I need to do this. And after the fact, I realized. So I found the same program that you found, inferior program. Let's be real, no names. Inferior program. I had actually spoken with one of their clients, and I said, this is a lot of money. It's $10K for me. I'm already in deep debt, single mom. And she was a divorce coach or a relationships coach. You probably know her. And she goes, I'm going to get on a call with you. I said, okay. She goes, look, a lot of people fail in this program, but I think, talking to you, that you will not. I said, you're actually advising a single mom in deep debt to plunk $10K down for this program. She goes, oh, yes, I am. I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I said, that is a big thing. You're telling me that. She goes, I see you, and I think that you would actually succeed. Most people don't, but you're a beast. And I said, okay. She goes, I would do it. She said, I would do it. I said, you're risking that. She goes, yes, I'm risking that. I said, okay, I'm doing it. Go in, plunk down $10K on 3 different credit cards. There was no support, as you know, in there. And what they were supposed to teach us was Facebook ads. I realized right away Facebook ads were not going to work. And I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And they literally said to me, I said, this isn't going to work for me. I know. Oh, yeah, you can't do that. I said, oh, $10K for the ads. No, no, no. You got to do organic. And I said, is that like carrots? I didn't even know what organic marketing was. It's ironic, right? And I was like, what is that? They said, this is what they told me. Legit. Go talk to people. 4 words. That was the coaching. Go talk to people. I said, that's it? That's the coaching? They said, that's it. So I did. I thought, okay, I'm going to be the best go talker to people in the world. And that's when you saw me hustling. And I was like, I'm just going to, and I talked to 900 people on Facebook, do market research, 18 sales calls. On the 18th, I got my first client and I proved the concept and we danced around the house and cried. So I'm actually really touched that you brought that up because when I think back, that was a really hard time. And my kids saw it and they were like, Mom, and we were crying and laughing. I said, you know what? I got it. And that was the moment where I thought, I have this and this is going to help a lot of people. And I saw it open up like eureka, because I knew, I thought, this is it. I did this. This is the answer for a lot of people who don't like tech, who don't want ads, has something really great to offer. And it's so simple what I'm teaching. And that was what got me going. And I got to 17 months. In 17 months, I got to $1 million on my own.
That's amazing. 17 months, you went from having to put $10,000 on 3 credit cards to $1 million.
Yeah, in revenues. And the profits were darn high because it was just me. And my profits were about 95% profit or 94.
No, I remember during that time because, again, we were in the same group and I can't remember if there was a Facebook group also with that program.
There was. Yeah.
But it just is burned in my brain about you. You were, you'd be there at night watching television with your daughters, but then you're still on your phone, which some people would look at and criticize that.
Yeah.
But you did that for a time because you had no choice.
Yeah, but actually the joke was this. That was even funnier. I did not touch. No, I was working. Actually, it was summer vacation. So I had to drive my kids to their camp, get a workspace. Okay. And get a workspace for a week. And then I was out and about and I thought, I really want to give them a vacation. I thought, okay. So I drove and did a little road trip and I was anxious the whole time. And one of my colleagues in there I was having a panic attack in a hotel in New Mexico. And I was like, well, one of the colleagues, because I made some good friends in that program. And I said, I'm having a panic attack. My kids are sleeping and I'm in the bathroom having a panic attack because this isn't working. And I'm in such deep debt. And will this work? And he said, look, Jeanne, it's 3 days. Stop everything. Just, message or whatever. Have some time with your kids. And it's only 3 days. And I thought, he's right. He's right. Because it was more money for the trip, too. Because a road trip is expensive. The gas, the hotels. But I wanted to do it for them. And I thought, I will regret if I don't do this. And I thought, I'm not going to regret. He said, just suck it up. Take a breath. And I literally was having a panic attack in that hotel room. Because I was like, this isn't working. And I'm spending more money. But they didn't know. My kids didn't know I was having a panic. They were sleeping. I was like, on my own. So we had the trip. We did some sightseeing on the way home. And I just thought, I'm just going to be present. And we had the road trip. I got back. I still hadn't done it. And I posted a post. I had not watched TV in 8 weeks. Okay. Or 8 weeks or 9 weeks. I had not watched any TV because I did not have time. I was just working the whole, now I'm watching a bit, but I didn't watch TV anyway. But the joke was, I'm like, and people were talking about shows they were watching. I thought, you watch TV? Where do you get the time? Like, it was literally every moment of my life as a single mom. Like, for the first 2 years of my business, I didn't touch media at all. And on the second year, I told myself I was allowed to watch one 45-minute show per week to entertain myself. That is how intense my life was. Okay. Because I was just like, I need to make a living. So the joke was, I said, hey guys, I'm finally in front of the TV, but I'm messaging. And somebody said, is it on? They knew me. They're like, is it on? And I thought that was so funny because they knew me at that point. Like, she's sitting in front of the TV. She probably hasn't even turned it on. So that was the thing. Then I was like, well, now I can get a few more hours where I'm half watching TV and still doing the work. And it was like sort of half watching TV and half. So that's how I worked it out. I was messaging people at stop signs. Like, literally, I'd say to my kids, tell me when it's green, and I'd be messaging. Because I figured out with all the traveling and taking them to all these activities, I thought, wait a minute, that's like an hour of work in between. So I figured out I got another 40 to an hour minutes of work in between stop signs, waiting. Get it? I worked out to the minute how I could fit in as much time as possible.
Yeah, that's amazing. And my father always told me never ask a woman her age, but I know how old you were at the time. So do you mind telling people? Because I think it just adds to
Oh,
the inspiration of the
I'm
story.
so open about my age. This was 5 years ago, so let's do the math. 54 plus 5. I'm 59 years old. Um, and actually, next April, I'm turning the big 6-0. And my whole joke is like, how did this happen to me? It's not fair. But, I think it's really important that people hear to shift their mindset because there's a lot of excuses being made all the time. Oh, but I'm too old. Oh, but I don't have a degree in this. Oh, but I don't know anything about marketing. Oh, but I'm a woman. Oh, but I'm a single mom. Well, listen, I was 54, so I'm old, right? As far as most people think. In deep debt, so no backup. So they could say, oh, well, you have money. Nope. No backup. No hubby, no backup, no nothing, debt. And, know nothing about online marketing. I didn't even know how to use Zoom. One of the nice fellows in there, who was still a friend of mine, he saw how bad I was at tech. And he said, you know what? Why don't I send you a Loom to show you how to use Zoom? And I said, that's a great idea. I kid you not. So I'm also telling people I was clueless about tech, and how to do everything. And that was the gift, is that other people are like, well, I'm terrible at tech and it worked for you. So yes, it can work for you. Because usually you're taught like funnels and tech and you have to learn the tech and it's like, this is so hard. So I thought I got to do this in my own way with no tech. I'm going to figure that problem out. That's what I did.
I want everyone who's listening right now just to take a moment and like grasp that story. She's 54 years old, doesn't have money, doesn't have the knowledge, doesn't have, hey, you had coaching experience,
Yes.
but you didn't have the online business experience. And with that, you still made a leap and made it happen. Let me ask you this. I'm sure there were dark days, right? As you have just mentioned. Did you ever feel like just throwing in the towel? And if so, what stopped you?
Okay, this is the gold. I could not throw in the towel. There was no way I could throw in the towel. Because what did that mean? Okay, the offline wasn't working. There was no way I could get a job. How could I get a job? That I need to pick my kids up from school. They had been homeschooling, but now they're in a school. So what job is going to let me leave at 2:30 to go pick my kids up, to pick them up from school, right? There's no bus. So I'm like, okay, I wouldn't be able to get a job anyway. When you haven't worked in a long time and you're like overqualified for the jobs you can get, and then you're never going to get the job that you could have gotten if you hadn't had like the 12-year gap of not working, right? So, and besides, I was not now going to get a job. What would that be like? Like $20 an hour? That's not going to work. So there was no choice. And I think when you're in a position, and I've been in that position twice when I first started my business, when my kids were 1 and 4 in New York City, and I was like, oh, what do I do? That was when I first started the business offline. And, I was getting clients and it was okay, but it wasn't like millions of dollars, and it's just unsustainable to always be out there networking. It's just, people do that for their whole life, and it's just hard. And I could have done that, but it didn't work in the other place I was at. New York, it worked. But that was the first thing. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm in New York City. I have a 1-year-old. I have a 4-year-old. I haven't worked. What do I do? Okay. I started a kids blog, which actually became well known in like 3 months all around the world, but not a lot of money in it. But it got me at least writing online, blogging. But then I thought, okay, that's not working. What do I do? Okay. Oh, I'm really good at coaching. Why don't I be a coach? And I could do that at home. So I got certified online at night, and I was getting, in those days you could do phone calls, right? So I was in my pajamas signing clients up, just asking everybody, who do you know that needs life coaching? So I I started learning about business, and immediately I was really good at helping people market their businesses. It was just, I was good at it, and I thought, okay, my coach was like, you're actually a business coach. And I'm like, okay. But I thought, okay, I'm taking care of my children. They wake up at 7. Well, I try to keep them in bed till 7. And I get them to bed at 7. I was very organized. Get them to bed at 7. That leaves me from 7 till midnight. That's 5 hours where I can work on a business. So I would work. I would take care of my kids during the day, and I'd work from 7 till midnight every night for 5 hours. Because then I would get in a good 25 or 30 hours working on a business. You need at least that much, right? That was where my time not seeness came in. It was like, I can't waste a minute. That was why I wasn't going to watch TV. That broke into my 5 hours. Then I would go to bed at midnight, get up at 7, take care of the kids. This was the hustle. I had no choice but to do that because I figured out the numbers. So then when I was even 5 years on, and I thought, okay, this just has to work. That's why you saw me doing that. I thought this just, because there is no alternative. I have to work this out. And when you have that single-mindedness, guess what? You figure a way out. You do.
That you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's that burn your boats mentality, right? It just drives all your focus. I remember, I've never told you this story. I've not told a lot of people this story, but the first time I felt like I broke through to have success selling online, this goes back maybe 2014 or 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a bunch of, it was corporate people, it's just a different sales cycle, but it was corporate people at this webinar. And, you know, usually the speaking, presenting thing is in my strength set since I've done so many presentations. And I'd worked so hard on trying to sell people in a webinar. And I was just failing. And I'm like, how am I failing at this, right? Like, this is a strength of mine, but yet I just hadn't figured it out. And I remember I got all these people on this webinar, and I pitched them this, I was like a $2,500 offer or something, can't remember, $2,000. And when I got off, I checked, and one person had bought, but that was just this huge disappointment. And I gave people until like Friday night, so it was like this 3-day window. And I remember, like, so much what was driving me back then, it was my kids, right? Like, I wanted to be successful for my children, not for how they would see me, but just, I had grown up in an upper middle class home, and then I took a different path, right? Originally, I went into ministry, so you don't really top out on the pay scale in the high there. And so I always felt, and you know, sometimes sons compare themselves with their fathers, and I always felt like I am lacking. But anyways, that's the backstory. So Thursday comes, no sales. Friday comes, no sales. And our family were heading up to this, it was actually our church camp, a yearly camping trip. And my kids and my wife at the time, they headed up before me, up to Georgia. And I was like licking my wounds, like, this just failed again. And I felt so bad. But I remember driving up to Georgia to this campsite. It's like 2 hours away. And there was like no cell service, and you get to a little town and there'd be cell service. Well, anyways, I'm driving up. It's like 2:30. I pass through this little town, and all of a sudden I look at my phone and this sale comes in. I'm like, oh my goodness, that was so encouraging. And then I drove to the next town and got cell service again. Another sale came in, and then another sale came in. And it was this, I don't know, it was like 12,000 by the end of the day. But for me, that was this, just like that moment for you and your girls, you were dancing around the room. And of course, I shared that with my kids. And something that touched me, yet maybe hurt me as well later, my kids were so happy for me because they knew how hard I had been working. But I also, so I was touched by that, but it showed me my kids are watching me.
Yes.
And that made me wonder, like, well, you know, am I being successful enough for them? It was a real question for me at the time. So did you think through things like that?
Absolutely.
About your kids? And
yes. And in fact, that resonates so much because the motivator was this. When I woke up that morning, I thought, okay, my kids don't know I'm not successful because I'm living on credit. We had a nice place to live, and I bought them good food, and I never, ever uttered the words, we cannot afford that. I wasn't going to do that to them because I'm wise enough to know that. I thought, I'm not going to dump that on them. They've been through a lot. So they just had everything they had. I spent all my money on their like piano lessons. Like, you wouldn't think that we had no money because I just put it on credit. I was just like, in the end, this will all work out, and it's all going to be fine. And I'm not going to have my kids be deprived of their development, like piano, whatever, you know, sports or whatever. So we're going to just do what we do. Lived in a nice place because it was on a lake. It was in the Midwest, so it was cheaper than New York. And we ate really good food, normal. And we'd go out here and there. And, you know, when we'd go out, they'd go, oh, Mom, what should I have? And I would do the mathematics like in a second. Try that. That looks really good. Obviously the cheapest thing, you know? But I never said, oh, no, you know, it was never, oh, we can't afford that. I said, actually, this is probably going to be, I'm going to be too full right now. Maybe you're right, Mom. Yeah, okay. But it was always just like, you know, And it took me a while after I made a lot of money to stop doing the mathematics with bills. I wanted to stop. I just don't want to do, I just want to go and eat whatever I want. But the main motivator was this. My girls are going to see me that I am actually failing. They will see that at some point because they're getting older. And that would be, that is the worst thing. I would not want them to see that, because what is that modeling? What's their life story then of the mindset? Oh, so when you're a mom and then you go through divorce and then you just end up failing and you just get washed up. That's kind of, I thought, no, that's not the story I want them to see. I want them to see mom went through some hard times. We're on our own. She's doing the job she's doing, whatever they perceive that as. Okay. And oh my goodness, she turned this around and she's a huge success, which is their model. Because after the fact, I said to my daughter, I said, yeah, I was in deep debt. She said, we were in deep. I said, we were not ever in deep debt. I was in deep debt. I said, thank God, and I pray a lot, and I don't think I turned this around. I was saying to a friend at church yesterday, God allowed me to turn this around, and I'm so grateful. I am so grateful that this turned around. I was just willing. You see, I was just willing to do the work, but God engineered it for me, because placed in parts, but then I needed to do the work. However, I got the opportunity and the insight to do certain things that, I feel like I dodged a bullet. Like, thank goodness I was drawn there, and then I did that and I took action. Of course, I failed along the way a lot. But when I finally got that, I thought, oh gosh, this was meant to be. So the motivation, yes, was I do not want my daughters seeing that I am failing and then they're going to take that failure on as women. Like, oh, well, mom failed, so she's going to fail, and mom's really, hardworking, and, they know that. Then what makes me think I'm going to succeed? So it blew their mindset open, because then they see, oh, wait a minute, mom turned that around. And look, mom just bought, on purpose, I went and bought a new Tesla, brand new, to show them I can do this. Okay, that was like the one thing they're like, oh, mom, because I had a rusty old Jeep that was 18 years old. In fact, I was already a millionaire and I was still driving that car because I didn't care. Then I thought, maybe I should, car is like, it's not worth like repairing. And I thought, I'm going to go buy a brand new car. I'm going to buy a Tesla, brand new, for the first time in my life. And they were like, wow, it wasn't about the object. It was about the ability to do that. They're like, oh, mom, I said, yeah, I can do this. Like, oh, and I'm not buying things right, left, and center. It was the symbol of that things have changed. Okay. And then I could see their mindset change. Like, oh, okay. Things are, they didn't think anything was bad, but things got better. Like we just were able to afford to, we don't, they could see things were more easeful. Right. But that is 100% my motivation. That was the main motivator, was I do not want to fail my daughters. Also, I want to provide for them well, But then there's the secondary thing of, gee, I'm getting older now, and I got to start, and I started thinking, oh my gosh, do I see myself as somebody that's going to live off Social Security? I got to turn this around like NOW, because, 54 to, obviously, I'm not going to retire when I'm 65. Why would I want to? But still, I thought, that's not me. That person that's not empowered. So that was the motivation, was for my kids and myself, but mainly them, to be honest.
I think when people go to start a business, what they don't realize, or people who don't start a business but watch those of us who do, when you start your own business, it's actually a huge, I'm going all in on me. Like, it requires so much self-belief to make it and be successful. And I didn't know that when I first started. Just like I didn't know I actually had to be in sales, but I also didn't know, like, this is a path of, I have to choose to believe in me, right, and to believe in myself. So my question is, if we were to rewind 10 years ago versus, and talk to Jeanne then versus Jeanne now, how differently do those two versions of you see yourself, or it's the same?
Okay, I definitely, if I go back, I see myself as somebody who was like struggling, and I'm struggling, and this is every day. And, I also was somebody that was anxious all the time. Like, how am I going to do this? So I feel like a lot of what I just was telling somebody today, if I could help you not be anxious and get back those Christmases where it's like in the back of my mind where I'm anxious about like what I'm doing in January, like for our lives and getting ahead. I just felt anxious, like, I'm not there yet. And I know I could be. And So deep down, I did believe in myself, and it was frustrating for me. It was very frustrating. I'm like, oh, I know I can do better, and how. And so it was just a lot of anxiety, because when you're not fulfilling your potential and you know it, there's something worse than that. When you know it, it's pain. People that sort of in la la land, like people say, I want to give them $1 million, but I want to work 3 days a week. I'm 2 hours a day or whatever. I'm talking about when you really are a person that knows that you have not fulfilled your potential. And I knew that. I'm like, no, this is, and it's just a struggle. And and why isn't this working? I'm always trying. I'm always looking. It was hard for me to be peaceful, at peace in my life. I'd see my friends and I was happy, and my kids, but it was just this underlying anxiety. And, and I'm like, okay, I know I could be doing better. So that was hard. The feeling was hard. Now, good. Like, do I want to create more? Yeah. Am I super grateful that I got this far? Oh, yeah. So I'm at the point where I'm like, well, so grateful. Can I do better? Sure. If I don't do that much better, I'm fine, right? Like, I'm good. And I'm doing more investing now. And one of my investment advisor mentors said, that you could pretty much not work again, and we could basically churn these investments and you'd probably be okay for the rest of your life. I said, really? What if he goes, no, I mean, kind of, that was good. Because I thought, well, why am I doing this? Because I want to. Because I have a mission to help people too. And I think what we're missing here in this conversation, yes, the struggle, there's also a deep motivation for me to help others to thrive that is palpable. And that gets me clients, because my clients feel that. And I am driven, because I do not want people to go through the pain that I went through. If I can cut those years off and not make you go through that and get you a better life, and you're not anxious and your kids are happy, oh my goodness, that rocks my boat. That's my real motivation, is shortcut stuff. So people don't have to go through so they don't go through what they think they have to. You don't have to go through all that. I could have figured this out sooner. I just didn't get online sooner. My whole thing is, I wish I'd gotten online 13 years ago. Would have saved all that pain. But maybe I was just meant to go through that. But wish I didn't have to. Like, if I just gone online sooner, but I didn't. I wasn't ready, and I maybe wasn't courageous, or wasn't the right. I don't know. But it's all good now, and I'm grateful, because I kind of turned this around at the last moment. I think, you need a little bit of runway, right?
I do want to ask you a little bit about your business and how you help people. But before we get to that, I remember you saying one time, and this goes back, I think this was probably right after you had made your first million. Mm-hmm. And I heard you talking about you had to change how you thought about money.
Yes.
And do you want to walk us through that? Yeah. Because I think what happens for a lot of people, whether they're running their business or they're just working for a company trying to move up the ladder, mm-hmm. we all have the money programming, mm-hmm. whether it's from our parents or just from our life, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, I can't afford this. Hey, we got to count we need a budget. You follow Dave Ramsey, yes. or whatever it might be. And it sort of sets you into a way of life. So can you walk us through that change and how did you do that?
Sure. First of all, there's all these theories, and the Ramsey or whatever, I think that's all good. It's not one way, right? But regardless of all of that and the budgeting, and some people like, don't budget or do it. It's not that. It is, those are nitty gritty, right? Like, fine. But there's a larger beyond mindset when it comes to money. And I had to learn this, because I remember that same person that convinced me to do the program, that lovely lady that said, I said, well, how much are you making? She said to me, I'm on 20K months. And I remember I said to her, how does that feel to make 20K per month? I can't even imagine that. And she laughed. She goes, you get used to it and then you normalize the numbers. Okay. But I remember, and it's quite funny, but it's real. I was like, I can't even imagine making $20,000 in 1 month. Now there's nothing to me, And I'm like, no, I'm not degrading or demeaning other people's, 20K months. But I'm saying, for now, me, where I am now, that's not a lot of money. Okay. And I remember that. I thought, there you have it. That was like, how am I going to do that? Then when I made more than that, she goes, she leaves me a message. She goes, see, I told you so. Now you're ahead of me, because she saw that I was reporting, 40K months. She goes, get it? And she was kind of being amusing. She goes, she left me a message. She goes, I am so proud of you. I knew you would do this. And now look, I knew you would surpass me. And she was very wise. But the point is this, getting to your question. There is an unlimited supply of money out there. That is a fact. There is. We have a mindset that there is a shortage of the green stuff or wherever it is. There's a shortage of cash or whatever. Now it's usually digital, but there's a shortage. And actually with digital, that should teach us all that it is really unlimited. It's just numbers, okay? Digital numbers. That should sort of push us in the more of the direction of believing this is not even cash anymore. It's now just numbers, digital numbers. There is an unlimited amount of money in the world. There is. The mindset is that there's a limited amount and we're not allowed to have any of it, or we're only allowed to have some of it because we're not meant, and we are from a certain family, or our mindset is there's a limit and I'm only going to get part of it. When you open up your mind and realize there's so much money out there, unlimited, and you just got to call it in and not grasp it because you're not taking it from anybody else, because it's like saying you're taking the drop of water in the ocean. If you go to the ocean and you take, a little tiny handful of, are you going to go, oh my goodness, I can't take this handful of because I'm taking away from all the other swimmers out there? No, you're like, it's a tiny bit of, look at all the water out there. So if you start imagining money as these oceans of like water and drops, that changes your mindset, okay? And when I started to realize that was my mindset was telling me there's a limit, there's no limit. I'm not taking, my mindset sort of was like, if I'm taking away from somebody else. No, you're not. I'm not taking any money away from you if I'm doing better as a coach. And there's no market out there. This competition thing is rubbish. So that coach is making $5 million a year. They're not taking my millions away from me. I can go get 5 extra million over here. Make sense? There's this mindset lack that there's only a certain amount of money in certain thing and they took your share, market share. Well, for certain things, there might be a market share with certain types of products that people are buying. They do studies on that, right? But still, you can open up market share by convincing more people to buy your product that were already in the market, right? So the point is, it is normalizing those numbers and I got really good at that. I even have a training about that actually called Normalize Your Numbers. Normalize, normalize, normalize. And you have to brainwash yourself. Okay, I thought 10K was, now that's not a lot. Now 20K. Okay, now 20K is normalized. Okay, now it's 30. And you keep normalizing till your ceiling is blown open. Okay, then you look back and you go, yeah, I remember that time when I thought 10K, for a year was a lot. One of my coaching years, I literally made 10K the whole year. So you know what I mean? I didn't think that was good. That was not good because in my corporate job, I had made 100K a year. But, to get, I think when I cracked the code, I got 3 clients all at once. In those days, it was a 5K offer. Made 15K in 1 week. Like, blew my mind open. Wow, I'm going to do that over and over again. So that it's the possibility that it's possible. And you want to inch yourself up that was possible. Yay, your mindset. That's possible. What else is possible? Okay. And it's really good to hear things like this. I have a mentor. She makes $1 million per client for 10 months. Boom. That just blew up everybody's mindset out here, right? So when people say, oh, but that's so expensive because it's like, I don't know, something is expensive. I'm like, not really. I say, nope, it's not expensive. That's actually not a lot of money. They're like, no, it's not. It's a lot of money? $1 million for 10 months of coaching. Nah, I would say that's quite a lot of money, wouldn't you? But she doesn't think so. Sometimes they pay her too. So, it's all relative. So that's my thing. If you're going to limit yourself, you're going to limit yourself. Don't. There's so much money out there. You're not taking away from anybody. You're worthy and ready right now for that money. That's the mindset. I am worthy and ready right now.
I want to ask, by the way, I love the analogy about the ocean, viewing money in abundance like the ocean, and to go take a cup out of it, you're not going to drain it. I want to ask your advice, what you would say to people when it comes to money, pricing, asking for raises, and their own self-worth. And before I turn that over to you, I remember my first paid speaking job, I think was $700, and I was, over the moon.
Yeah.
And then I remember when I asked for $3,500 and my heart was like beating, and then they were like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then I almost felt guilty after, like there was just this whole dance. And then years later, an agent said, "Hey, I can just sell for you," and they said, "We're going to charge 15,000."
Yeah.
And even then, I was like, I can't do that. And of course, they sold it, and I went and
Wow.
spoke to the client, and they loved it. They wanted to have me back.
Mm-hmm.
But even when I showed up, I remember feeling almost like, well, imposter. That's what it was. This imposter, like, oh, if only you guys knew, but well, if only you knew what. And so there's a lot of people out there, either they run their own business and their prices are too low, or they've been working in a company for a long time and they should get a raise or they should ask for a raise, but they're afraid to.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to people about money, maybe self-worth, about how to think through raising prices or asking for raises?
Okay, so, and this is normal, by the way, and it makes you like, huh, it really is just fear. You're afraid they're going to say no, and what will happen with a raise? What if I get fired? There's fear. What if I ask and they say no? There's fear. So you really, and I'm not, you really have to evaluate. But for a raise, that's different because you might lose your job. But usually they're not going to fire you. So, but for raising prices, you just have to, like, I have a video on YouTube, and basically it's how to raise your prices. And literally, the advice is this: open your mouth and say the price. Literally, because it was a funny video. It's like, how do I? I always get the question, how do I raise my prices? I'm like, just say it. And it's a joke, but it's real. How do I raise them? Well, you open your mouth and you say, say you want to get to $10,000. That's how you do it. Is you open your mouth and you say it. And they're like, okay, that's so simple. And it is. It really is. But that's the only way to do it, is to open your mouth and say it. Now, there might be pre-work to do that, but just write down the number and say, next time I'm just going to say it, and whatever happens is fine. Guess what? They might say yes. And then you're like, oh my goodness, I'm glad I did that. You got to push the envelope. Okay. And I don't mean randomly raise prices randomly, because I help people with pricing and I look at it and I think, okay, and we're smart about it. It's not like, oh, sure, charge $1 million for your offer because you just can. Well, that's ridiculous. If you don't think the market can sustain $1 million offer, don't offer it. But some people are really undercharging and undervaluing themselves in the market. And I know it because I know pricing after working with hundreds and hundreds of people. And I know when it's just self-worth. And also the reason why people are not asking for more is because they are client poor and they don't have enough prospects. So it's like desperate. Okay, I have one prospect. I can't. When you have more prospects, you're more like, oh, well, I'm just going to charge this. If they say no, they say no. So it's always a lack of leads that makes people scared of doing that.
So let's talk a little bit about what you do, because there's going to be people listening to this who are small business owners, but there's going to be people listening to this. They're leaders or managers. A lot of our audience, right? They work in some other company and they're managers. But they might be thinking, how long do I want to do this? Or can I start something on the side? Especially for people who are Gen Xers.
Yeah.
You and I are both Gen Xers.
Yeah.
I love Gen X in that, well, we get skipped over a lot, but we have all this knowledge and experience and wisdom that we can pass on to others. Sometimes we just need to know how to package that. But tell us a little bit about what it is that you do. Who do you help the best?
Okay. So we work with coaches and consultants and certain service providers. So service providers, what I mean by that is sometimes I do get digital marketers in that just say, I really need to learn this organic stuff, or, email marketing people, or, some service providers do come in. Actually, the funny thing is I have an artist in there at the moment and I'm helping her sell wedding paintings and she's crushing it. So sometimes I can actually apply this and I'm very creative. And I said, this would work for you. She goes, really? Yeah. She goes, oh my gosh, this works so well. And she started selling her, and I raised her prices. So really it is anything that can be sold online organically, but mainly it's coaches and consultants. We help you get a high ticket offer, because I don't want people to struggle. Like, the high ticket is the way to go, to just get meaningful cash in the door ASAP. And then we just help you simply learn how to talk to people, create content, get in conversations, get on a conversation or a sales call, and then how to teach and how to also sell, like, with heart. So I don't teach the hard sales. I teach what's called heart-based sales, and it's non-disingenuous sales. Okay. So it's really about everything you heard about sales not to do. So really, like, I got turned off by sales, and I'm an advocate for the future of sales. And I do believe that people, especially after COVID, they are, really hip to a lot of the tactical selling. And I think that I believe we have to change just everything. I believe we have to change everything about how we sell, because this whole thing of assuming somebody's dumb because they need your help and making them feel bad when you don't want to buy it, or, condescending, or changing your attitude to be very like manipulative on a sales call, instead of just being there to serve and say, okay, here's what do you need? And you figure out at first if the person's a fit. If they're not a fit, it's not going to be good. If they're a fit, okay, great. If I'm 100% sure that we can help somebody, then I'll run what we do by. But I won't do it unless I'm 100% sure in the first place. Because when you're selling, when it's not a fit, it's friction. I like frictionless selling. Then you're just saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. Do you have any questions? Completely transparent. Price completely transparent. Do you want to do this? Yes or no? They say yes or no. And then they might come up with some objections. If I know that we can serve them, sure, I'm going to fight like mad to get past those dumb objections, because some of them are just like fear. If I see they need it, they really do want it, and we can help them, I will blast through those objections, and then it's up to them. Once I just uncover everything, here we are. They understand it was a dumb objection. What do you want to do? Boom, your choice. That's it. And they either want to work with you or they don't. But there shouldn't be forcing or manipulation in a sales call. It just shouldn't happen at all.
I love that approach. And for any of you who are running your own businesses and you need more leads, you need a better lead flow, and you want to learn more about organic marketing, so in other words, marketing without paying for ads, then definitely check out Jeanne. She has a ton of integrity, and I've just watched her over the years continue to build her business. She has a raving fan base, and I think you'd be pleasantly surprised by her approach and also her effectiveness. So, Jeanne, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
JeanneOmlor.com, JeanneOmlor.com. And it says work with us /reviews. Also, Jeanne Omlor, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Jeanne Omlor at Gmail. There's so many ways, just my name, all over the place.
We'll have all of that in the show notes. Do you have anything that might be good for people to check out your work for the first time, like some kind of training or video that we can also include in the show notes?
I think the best thing is that they see my clients speaking about the experience, because I'm very transparent with them. I ask them exactly, how did we do this? And I think that's the best thing, is to actually see what the process is coming from a client's point of view. So there's JeanneOmlor.com /reviews / that's the best place to go.
Perfect. We'll have that in the show notes if you didn't remember that, or you're driving, something like that. Well, as we close out, let me just say a couple things about you, Jeanne. And first of all, thank you for taking the time to be here. I really appreciate that. It was great to have this conversation. Also, you're somebody I admire and respect because of how you run your business, but also your story. There's just so many things in there I love about it. You have stuck in my head over the years because I have seen you as someone who is gritty, is resilient, is tough, who just decided, I'm going to do this, and you did. And I think the world needs examples like that, because all of us from time to time, we lose faith, right? We lose faith in ourselves. And in those moments, we need to borrow it from someone else. And I think you're one of those people that we grab and we borrow faith from. You're like a faith bank in that way.
Thank you.
And so, again, I just want to honor you there and appreciate you with that, and just wish you all the best success in the years to come.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for that, because you do get me, and I'm just always surprised when people say that they've been seeing my stuff through the years, because you just don't know. But that's the thing. I think we have to speak faith into people. We do. So, and it's been great. I'm sorry, I'm just getting emotional now, but it's really great being on your show.
Jeanne, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.